Good morning, Nigeria. This is your favorite program, Voice of the Priest Against Corruption, a program of Palace of Praise Assembly, PPA, mobilizing Christians against corruption in Nigeria, focusing on the Pentecostal assemblies, with strong support from the John D. and Catherine T. MacArthur Foundation. My name is Oche Ocheme, and I'm your host of this wonderful program. For a while, we have been looking at the first phase of the Shun Corruption project known as M.O.C.A.C 1.0, the journey so far, and what we should be expecting in the second phase of the project, mobilizing Christians against corruption, known as M.O.C.A.C 2.0. I've had the privilege of hosting wonderful guests who give wonderful insights. Today is not an exception. When I return, I'll be introducing my guest. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. My guest today is Dr. Ejiro Joyce Otive Igbuzor. Dr. Ejiro holds a PhD in microbiology, TB, HIV co-infection. She's the Executive Director, Women Empowerment and Reproductive Health Center, WORK, a non-governmental African-focused organization registered in Nigeria. She's a strong gender advocate, a teacher by all standards. She's the pastor and the Assistant General Overseer of Palace of Praise Assembly. Please join me as I welcome Dr. Ejiro. Ma, you are welcome.
Good morning, listeners. Thank you so much, Pastor Oche, for having me. It's a pleasure to participate in this program.
My first question, how would you rate this project so far with regards to its relevance and timing?
On the relevance and timing of the Shun Corruption project, I can tell you that this project could not have come at a better time. We are all aware of the current government's priorities, and one of which is fighting corruption in Nigeria. And the MacArthur Foundation graciously rolled out the Big Bet project to support this priority. And I'd like to throw some light on the Big Bet project itself so that we understand the background from which we are coming and from which we developed the Shun Corruption project. The Big Bet project works to reduce corruption in Nigeria by using what they have termed the voice and teeth strategy in a sandwich approach. I want to believe that sandwich is one thing that most people have seen, can relate with. And a sandwich would normally have 2 layers of bread and some filling in between the 2 layers. And if you squeeze the 2 layers hard enough with the filling in place, you can actually successfully spill out the filling in the middle, or squeeze out the filling in the middle. And in the case of the Big Bet project, that strategy has been articulated and is called the voice and teeth strategy, with voice representing the voice of citizens from various constituencies. And with regards to the Shun Corruption project, our constituency happens to be Pentecostals in Nigeria. And then the teeth represents another layer, of bread, looking at it from the sandwich imagery that informed the development of this strategy. And that level that is referred to as the teeth actually has to do with government action towards sanctioning corrupt individuals or corrupt organizations. How government works to punish corruption. And the idea of the sandwich strategy is that if the voices of citizens below are strong enough to reject and prevent corruption and to report corruption, and the teeth layer, which is, presents government's action towards sanctioning corruption, actually takes up these cases reviewed by citizens and pursue them and punish corrupt persons and sanction them, we will successfully eliminate corruption from Nigeria. Corruption being the filling between these 2 layers. If the voice is strong enough and the teeth is also strong enough, we can successfully squeeze out corruption from Nigeria. And once we do that, then we would have succeeded as a people. So that is the strategy that informs the Big Bet project itself.
Wow. But to what degree would you say the project has produced its planned results in the first phase?
Well, talking about the degree to which our project has produced its planned results in the first phase lasted for 3 years, 2018 to 2020, but with a little spillover, in 2020 because of COVID-19, there were certain things that couldn't be done because of the lockdown. And so we had a non-cost extension to around May 2021. I can tell you categorically that using a conservative estimate, as an M&E person, I can say that we achieved about 90 to 95% of the results that we stated from beginning of the project. So the project has largely achieved its planned objectives. Of course, there is room for improvement, and luckily for us, we also have now a second phase of the project being rolled out, within which we can cover some of the grounds that we probably could not cover in the first phase. Now, the key feature of the project, Mobilizing Christians Against Corruption, also known as the Shun Corruption project, is clearly delineated in what we call the theory of change. So at the beginning of the project, we articulated clearly a theory of change that shows how our planned activities and engagement with clearly defined stakeholders, in our case, the Pentecostals in Nigeria, will elicit specific results. So, it's like an architect's model of your house. You plan to build a beautiful house, and even before you go to site to start digging the foundation, you already have an architect's impression of your completed house on paper. That is what a theory of change is. We articulated a clear theory of change, and to keep it simple, I'll tell you and our listeners that our results framework has been summarized into what we have termed our 3S outcome model. 3S outcome model. The first S stands for Shun Corruption. What do we mean to shun corruption? To shun corruption is to say, I will not participate in corruption. If I'm offered a bribe, I will not take it, and I will not offer bribes. We will reject corruption. We'll do everything possible to prevent corruption. That is the first S. The second S has to do with speaking up against corruption. Speaking up against corruption requires that we train people to understand what corruption is, to speak up against it, to do things, that sensitize and mobilize other people to join in the fight against corruption. And the third level is stand against corruption. That is the third S. Standing against corruption means take action against corruption, report corruption, when you see it play out or when it happens before you, so that we can present something to government to punish, making the teeth level also active in the process. Now, in year one, we started the project by commissioning research to scope the entire Holy Bible, to set the foundation for Christians to join the fight against corruption. One of the achievements of the project is the fact that we have harvested 115 scriptures. I am sure this is not exhaustive, but at least we can categorically say that we have harvested 115 various scriptures that set the basis, for Christians to join the fight against corruption. After the series of research that we commissioned, we used the findings to develop a manual on Christianity and corruption with various modules to train Pentecostal pastors and ministers, on various issues relating to the costs and consequences of corruption, the skills needed within the Pentecostal movement to fight corruption, and how each and everybody, no matter who they are within the Pentecostal movement, can support or join or become active in the fight against corruption. Now, after our main trainings, which occurred in 3 regions in the country, both at the national level and in the north of Nigeria, and of course in the southwest and the south-south, those were the regions that we covered with our trainings. We have succeeded in building a critical mass of trainers, people who know how to go forth into the hinterlands, the nooks and crannies of Nigeria, to step down some of the things that they have learned through our initial training. So now I can tell you categorically that we have a critical mass of trained trainers who are capacitated to go forth to train, on the role of Christians in the fight against corruption. And they have been doing that. There have been several step-down trainings in various parts of the country. Now, in year 2, we began to establish platforms, to mobilize ministers against corruption. We established, first and foremost, 3 main platforms: Ministers Against Corruption, Women Against Corruption, and Youth's Vanguard Against Corruption. These platforms served to continue the discourse around corruption, to discuss contemporary issues happening in the country, and how Pentecostals can add their voices to the fight against corruption, not just within the church, but more importantly, generally, outside the church and in the country at large. And as at the end of that second year, we had covered over 16 states in which we have partners, of course, plus the fact that beneficiaries have been drawn from every state of Nigeria to, participate in this project. I can tell you again that we have achieved so much under the Shun Corruption project because as we speak, our outcome harvesting exercises have yielded a 56-page document just discussing the stories of change that we have harvested from various sectors: the police, Builders Against Corruption, health workers who are Pentecostals who have stood strong to say that whenever I am on duty, corruption cannot take place under my watch. We have also, been able to groom young people who have incorporated anti-corruption messages in their creative art forms. So we have anti-corruption messages playing out in our young Pentecostals' music, in their poetry, in their drama, and all kinds of things that they do. I can tell you categorically that this project has actually achieved a lot on its objective. And then in the 3rd year, which we termed our year of consolidation, I can tell you that we have consolidated all the gains made in previous years. We saw those platforms that we built initially expanding into various forms, into various regions. So we have various regional platforms now engaging effectively against corruption. And of course, during the process of implementing from years 1 to 3, we also developed a pact on transparency and accountability, something that Pentecostal ministers who have engaged with us agreed that these are the ethical principles that will guide, our lives and our ministries henceforth. And, massively people have continued to buy into that pact on transparency and accountability. The ultimate goal of governance is to guarantee the welfare, prosperity, and security of Nigerians. And I believe that as we work to reduce corruption in Nigeria, all of these gains will come to bear, and each and every one of us can once again be proud that we are citizens of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Amazing listeners. I'm sure you were glued to your seats and tuned to the station. She has assured us of giving us all of her time. Therefore, I urge you to tune in next week, the same time, to the same station, as I will be bringing her your way again.
You can reach us on all our social media handles: Twitter at Peace Priests, Instagram at Peace Justice, Facebook.com/PPJ Initiative, website ppj.priestassembly.org. You can reach us on our website as well as phone number on 090-1733-2905. I'll take it again: 090-1733-2905. Until I come your way next week, my name remains Oche Shun Corruption.
Oga Pastor, this one way they look your watch, so hope all is well.
I don't late for one important waka, but thank God say they move.
No worry, make I just turn follow this side. I don't want track to carry your center, they sharp.
What did they do? Why you won't go follow one way?
Oga Pastor, make you take a music here, no be church. See now, everybody they turn around.
No be everybody they turn, my friend. You fit turn now go cause another casala for that side, or even worse, cause accident wey fit pipe person. Every corrupt thing wey we do get the yawa way they follow am.
Pastor, which one will come become corruption again?
See, when you see something where you suppose no do, condo am, that one are sin. Or for this case, corruption. No break traffic rule, no give bribe, no jump queue. My brothers and sisters, make we help Nigeria fight corruption. Make we dey accountable to man and to God. The thing where corruption they cause for Nigeria, they too much. Make we bone corruption. Make we speak against corruption. And make we start gidigba against corruption.
Now, Priest, Peace and Justice Initiative, with support from the M.O.C.A.C Foundation, bring una this message.